at the Annunaki Academy, am given an orientation at the Academy in preparation for discussing my mission, and I undergo the purification and the creation of the all-important mental conduit. It took some time and many discussions with Marduk, but I finally managed to put the trauma of the fight with the ancient Annunaki behind me. It is never easy to adjust to a new culture. It is even more difficult to do so when your own spouse is part of this new and incredibly different culture. Think what it is like if you are adjusting not only to that, but to life on another planet. I have to admit that I succumbed to a form of depression. It was not the danger that so much affected me, but I was wondering if I really understood Marduk. My commitment to him never wavered. I am too much of an Anunnaki to have doubts about my husband once I have made my choice, but I felt helpless and alone and terribly inadequate. However, I received much help from Marduk, who understood my feelings completely and was willing to support me through this hard time, and also from Miriam and Sinhar in Anashamra, who advised me of how to manage my feelings from the female point of view. In addition, the spiritual value of the mingling of the lights makes a person more and more attuned to the feelings and thoughts of his or her spouse. I grew to understand Marduk's motives and behavior better every day, and one morning I woke up to feel that life seemed good again, and I was ready for whatever was in line for me next. Time to go to work, I said to Marduk over breakfast. I think it will be good to start thinking about my mission. In this case, then, I think you might want to start your orientation at the Academy. You can't do a thing without it, said Marduk. Just what I would love to do, I said enthusiastically. Shall I go to Sinhar in Anashamra and see about the test for admission into the orientation? You have already passed the test, said Marduk. But I only identified one ancient Anunnaki skull, I said, surprised. You said I had to identify two. You had to go through an extended fight with a threatening, evil life form, traveled to other dimensions, rejected the attempts of a monster at possession, and survived his locking you at this death trap of the box-like room. Not to mention seeing your husband destroy a master being, and all his versions for the first time, said Marduk in his matter-of-fact way. It counts as identifying a second skull, I should think. Anyway, Sinhar in Anashamra thinks you passed, and that is all that matters. She said to me that as soon as you are ready to start, you will be most welcome to the orientation. How thrilling. When shall I go? Tomorrow will be fine, since there are never any official dates for that, as they have on Earth. I'll just tell Sinhar Inanashamra. Fantastic. Do I need to bring anything with me? Supplies, copybooks, etc.? Or do I get the supplies there on the spot? Marduk laughed. No, there is no need for supplies. The students do not have to write or copy anything. No pens or pencils required. No copybooks. We don't even have desks in the classrooms, come to think of it. You see, the lessons are entered directly into the cells of the students and become a permanent part of their learning acquisitions. How in the world would they do that? It's hard to explain. It will be a lot easier for you to follow it step by step and get the background information as you go along. I could tell you that the acquisitions, or depot of knowledge, will become an integral part of the intellectual, mental, scientific program of the students, but it may not mean much to you until you experience it. I suspect. Indeed, it means nothing at all. I'll just take everything as it comes, and most likely enjoy it enormously. So, in the meantime, would you kindly manifest another cup of coffee for me before you go off to the Akashic Library? After I drink it, I must go and consult Miriam. She can help me decide what to wear for my day in school. I can't imagine Anunnaki having to wear a school uniform. A uniform? An Anunnaki wearing a uniform? How funny, said Marduk, amused and mildly shocked by the idea. It might interfere with free will, won't it? I asked, a little maliciously. Marduk laughed. He had begun to notice his own extreme attachment to the notion of free will, not as yet entirely shared by his wife. The next morning I went to the academy. I have always loved this magnificent edifice with its sprawling complex of buildings, all connected to each other in the traditional Anunnaki's architecture. I never failed to be amused by the similarity of all places of higher education, even on another planet. You could have taken this complex, with its lovely old stones and ivy-like climbers, just as it was, and place it next to Harvard, Oxford, or La Sorbonne, and it would fit right in. A few other students were approaching the particular building where Sinhar in Anushamra held her classes, and we were all welcomed very cordially by one of her apprentices and sent to our various classrooms. I entered a large, beautiful room. Later I found out it was 220 meters long by 70 meters wide, 3 dimensions that represent very elegant proportions like all Anunnaki architecture. Huge windows allowed in delicate green light filtered through the climbers. All the wall space between the windows was covered with shelving, on which many conical books were arranged. The classroom was divided into 3 sections. The apprentice that was my host explained the section system to me. It was rather complicated since the sections were not only constructed for the convenience of teaching, but had deep symbolic meaning. He started by asking me a question that at the time I found very strange. "Are you by any chance a Freemason?" he said. "No. Why?" I asked, intrigued. "Well, you see, if you were a member of the Freemasons, much of what I have to tell you about the symbolism would have already been known to you." "Really? How come?" "The Freemasons, with their extremely ancient Phoenician heritage, have acquired much information from the Anunnaki, and it is still in use by them. But no matter, in no time at all, you will know more than any of them. I will fully explain the matter to you, and I might as well tell you about the Freemason and Phoenician connections," said my guide pleasantly. "After all, you are from Earth, and I understand you are extremely interested in history and archaeology." He appeared to be highly knowledgeable and extremely happy to share information, traits that seemed to serve the Anunnaki well. "Indeed I am," I said. "Thank you so much for your instructions." "My pleasure," said the apprentice, and launched into the most informative discourse. Section 1 is named Merkaba Ra, and its code is 3. There are 3 rows, each seating 1 beginner, since this section is reserved for new students or recruits. In Freemasonry, the code of the new recruits is also 3. Merkaba Ra in Anak 1 means traveler. It is exactly the same name given to a new recruit or member in a Freemason lodge. In the ancient Hiram Brotherhood Society, number 3 was originally number 1. Later on it was changed to 3 because number 1 was considered the first attribute of Baal. Henceforth no human was worthy of receiving this sacred number. Section 2 is named Ka Doshar Ra, and its code is 18. There are 18 rows, each seating 1 apprentice. It is reserved for the mid-level Anunnaki students. Ka Doshar Ra in Anak means holy or more. Exactly. Students of the holy energy or source of life. In Freemasonry, it is exactly the same thing. Mid-level Freemasons received the degree 18. With them, Ka Doshar Ra became Kadosh. Many Semitic and ancient Near East, Middle East languages have a word much like it, including the Hebrew and Aramaic Kadosh, the Coptic Kakuz, or Kudup, the Syriac Kodus, and the Arabic Kudup, or Muqaddas. Section 3 is named Warda Do Ra, and its code is 33. There are 33 rows reserved for the masters, each seating 1 master. Warda Do Ra means the flower of knowledge. Same terminology applies to several Middle East languages, Western languages, and most particularly to Latin and French, and all have the same meaning. Warda means rose in Arabic. In Hebrew, it is Verd, and a female name was constructed from it, Varda. In Europe, the organization of the Rosicrucians took its name from the rose. Annunnaki's masters are given the degree 33, just as they do in Freemasonry, where the highest level in 33. Incidentally, the number 3 is important to all these people. For example, in the ancient calendar of the Annunaki Phoenicians, the month was divided into 3 weeks. Each week was composed of 11 days. The month consisted of 3 weeks, totaling 33 days. How fascinating, I said. A few minutes into the academy, and I have already learned more about the truth than in months at the university on earth. It's not the professor's fault, said the apprentice. Their knowledge is limited because so much has been done to obscure the truth by so many different authorities. Sometimes I marvel how much the earth scholars did manage to learn despite all the obstacles. But we must come in now. You have your purification ritual to do. Purification ritual? Why? I asked. All Anunnaki students are required to purify their bodies before their orientation or their regular course of studies. Lots of people do. You might remember that the Jewish scribes since earliest times had to purify their body before adding the name of God into the Torah. It is the same principle. The only difference is that our purification does more than purify the body. The substance we use purifies the mind and spirit as well. It's all very pleasant. Is it like the Jewish mikvah? They have these communal baths that women visit, much like a swimming pool, where they purify themselves each month. No, ours is private. Each student must purify his or her own being alone, since if we did it together, the mixing of the impurities might produce a barrier to the proper purification. Incidentally, remember the Essenes, these Judaic sect members of the Second Temple era? At first, they used our style of purification, but as time went by and their numbers grew, they changed into a mikvah-like communal purification. What about the Christian baptism? Of course, it is all the same idea of purity and cleanliness, and the Christians believe that the mind and spirit are indeed cleansed by the baptism. He led me to a door at the end of the room and opened it. Inside was a small room, entirely made of shimmering white marble. In the middle of the room was a basin made of the same material and filled with something I could not define. It does not look like water, I said, eyeing the glowing substance with suspicion. No, it is something else. This is Nura Shams, an electroplasma substance that appears like liquid light. It actually means in Anak, the liquid of light. Nu or Nur or sometimes Menur or Menura means light. Shams means sun. Nur in Arabic means light. The ulema in Egypt, Syria, Iraq, and Lebanon use the same word in their opening ceremony. Sometimes the word nur becomes nar, which means fire. This is intentional because the ulemas, like the Phoenicians, believed in fire as a symbolic procedure for the purification of thoughts. This created the word min nawar, meaning the enlightened or surrounded with light. In Anak it is menor ra, which, if you know any Hebrew, you might remember that menorah means a lamp. It's all connected. Later the Illuminati used it as well. Anyway, to complete the first phase, all you have to do is spend a little time in the basin and enjoy the purification. I will knock on the door shortly. He closed the door gently behind him, and I removed my clothes and entered the basin. This bath was the most pleasant cleaning experience I have ever encountered. Every minute made me feel lighter, happier, more complete within myself, and sparkling clean. I was sorry when the apprentice knocked on the door and asked me to get dressed and join him. Now, said the apprentice, you are ready for the second phase of the purification. It is called the Nif Malkarud Dosh's ritual. Heavens, what a name, I said. What does it mean? Nif means mind. Centuries later, it was used by terrestrials as nifs or ru, meaning soul or spirit. Since the Anunnaki did not believe in a separate soul, the mind was the only source of creation and mental development, while humans continue to interpret it as soul. It means the same thing in Akkadian, Hittite, Aramaic, Hebrew, and Arabic. Malka means kingdom, or a higher level of knowledge and mental development. Humans changed Malka to Malakut, or Malkout, and the same, or very similar word was again used in Aramaic, Hebrew, Syriac, Coptic, Arabic, Phoenician, and so many other languages. Ru is the highest level of mental achievement. The Arabs use the same word, while the Hebrew word is ruach. However, the meaning changed in both languages to represent soul, not mind, and Dosh means revered. Now, let's go into the room where we can proceed. He opened another door, and we entered a moderately sized room off the classroom. In the room was a cell, shaped as a cone and transparent. The cell floated in the air approximately 12 centimeters above the ground. The top of the cell seemed to be connected to a beam originating from a grid attached to the ceiling. But the interesting thing was that the ceiling, too, floated in the air. It was totally suspended on its own. "Please step into the cone," said the apprentice. A door opened, and I entered the contraption, much intrigued. I stood and waited, and suddenly a clear fog formed in the center. After a short while, the fog's color changed from white to silver blue in form of waves. I felt nothing at all, but to my amazement, I saw something registering on an information board that was posted on the right side of the cell. I looked at it, bewildered, and suddenly I knew with absolute certainty that these were my thoughts that were registering on the machine. These thoughts began to take physical shape, which was instantly copied to a screen. The screen transformed the thoughts, formed into a code, which I could not decipher, but very quickly the code was transformed into a sequence of numerical values. I was not sure what this mysterious sequence meant, but later I found out that the sequence then is prescribed as a genetic formula. This genetic formula is the identity registration of the Anunnaki student. In terrestrial terms, you can call it DNA. But it is more than that. It is a level of mental readiness for the next stage. At this point, I heard a direction in my head as clear as if someone was talking to me directly. Obviously, I was approached on a telepathic level, something I was not as yet too accustomed to. I was told to free my mind from all thoughts. It is something like what the Japanese call koan, or kara, a state of mind nothingness. Surprisingly, I managed to do so with great ease. I imagined this had something to do with the purification rituals because in the past, when I tried to do the same in order to meditate, I failed miserably. Then something began to happen. Rays of various densities and colors surrounded me in a cloud. It is tempting to compare it to the aura in terrestrial terms, but this is not the case. It is not an aura because it is not bioorganic. It is entirely mental. What happened next took only 1 minute, and at the time I could not understand what was really happening, but later it was made extremely clear. This was the most important procedure done for each Anunnaki student on the first day of his or her studies, the creation of the mental conduit. A new identity is created for each Anunnaki student by the development of a new pathway in his or her mind, connecting the student to the rest of the Anunnaki psyche. Simultaneously, the cells check with the other copy of the mind and body of the Anunnaki student to make sure that the double and other copy of the mind and body of the student are totally clean. During this phase, the Anunnaki student temporarily loses his or her memory for a very short time. This is how the telepathic faculty is developed or enhanced in everyone. It is necessary, since to serve the total community of the Anunnaki, The individual program inside each Anunnaki student is immediately shared with everybody. Incidentally, this is why there is such a big difference between extraterrestrial and human telepathy. On Earth, no one ever succeeds in emptying the whole mental content from human cells like the Anunnaki are so adept in doing, and the conduit cannot be formed. Lacking the conduit that is built for each Anunnaki, the human mind is not capable of communication with the extraterrestrials. However, don't think for a moment that there is any kind of invasion of privacy. The simplistic idea of any of your friends tapping into your private thoughts does not exist for the Anunnaki. Their telepathy is rather complicated. The Anunnaki have collective intelligence and individual intelligence. And this is directly connected to two things. The first is the access to the community depot of knowledge that any Anunnaki can tap in and update or acquire additional knowledge. The second is an individual prevention shield, also referred to as personal privacy. This means that an Anunnaki can switch on and off their direct link, or perhaps better defined as a channel, to other Anunnaki. By establishing this screen or filter, an Anunnaki can block others from either communication with him or her, or simply prevent others from reading any personal thought. Filter, screen, and shield are interchangeably used to describe the privacy protection. In addition, an Anunnaki can program telepathy and set it up on chosen channels, exactly as we turn on our radio set and select the station we wish to listen to. Telepathy has several frequency channels and stations. When the establishment of the conduit is complete, the student leaves the conic cell and heads toward the section assigned to him or her at the classroom. In my case, I was just about to finish my orientation with the all-important conversation with Sinhar and Anushamra, discuss my mission with her before it was to be communicated to the council, and make a few important decisions for the future, both personal and professional. Chapter 10. Surprises and Decisions. A startling revelation about the Greys. My future mission is considered, and a personal decision of great moment is made. Sinhar Inanashamra took me to her office, and we settled in two of her comfortable armchairs. "How did this session affect you?" she asked. "Are you tired? Would you prefer to postpone our discussion for another day?" "I am not at all tired," I said. "On the contrary, these procedures made me feel energized. My head feels so clean." "Excellent," said Sinhar Inanashamra. "So, just tell me your thoughts and views about a possible mission, and remember, there will be no rush in taking it up. Rather, we would like you to prepare for it for a while, get your bearings. I do have a notion of what I want to do, but perhaps I lack the necessary knowledge." "I don't think so," she said. "You see, Victoria, your situation is unique regarding studying, and it has certain advantages. At your age, people born on Nibiru would not be considered adult. Our children are considered mature at age 71, and until that time, they go regularly to the academy, studying things like ecology, history, etc. for many years. Their conduit until that age is partial. Then, at the age of 71, they graduate and receive the complete conduit. You, on the other hand, are ready to be considered a graduate right away. So, am I not missing something precious because of my being an adult at age 30? I asked, a little apprehensive. Not at all, on the contrary. Everyone here knows that graduating from the academy is just the beginning of a lifelong course of studies. I am 400,000 years old, and I have been learning and refining my studies every day of my life. You are now prepared for independent studies. Your conduit and your capacity to absorb knowledge from the cones are complete, so there is no limit to what you can do. And of course, if something interests you at the academy, all you have to do is show up. All adults do that. "How I love your ways," I said. "How wonderful to acknowledge the need to learn throughout life. Yes, I would love to start preparing for my mission if you and the council will approve, and if I have the support of Marduk. Our approval and your husband's support are so certain that there is nothing to worry about. Just tell me then, what is this potential mission that has occurred to you? You realize there is no commitment. This is just a preliminary, very preliminary discussion, said Sinhar in Anashamra. I want to help the hybrids, I said. I know by now that there are many hybrids on Earth, the result of the Gray's experiments, and I would also like to help those people who are half human and half Anunnaki. Like my son, I am sure he is not the only one that has been adopted by Earth families. This is an excellent choice for your first mission, said Sinhar in Anashamra. I completely understand your motives and your choice, both professionally and personally. I think I am tuned to the Annunaki connection to humans, I said. After all, I am part of one of the situations, but I know very little about the Greys. Yes, said Sinhar in Anashamra meditatively. Very few people on any planet really understand the Greys. I have made it my business to learn all I could about them, and I will be able to help you. In my trip to their lab, I felt nothing could be worse than these beings, I said. They seem to me to be a constant menace to everyone. They are cruel, said Sinhar in Anashamra. But I am thinking about something else. Unless you know their problem, all you see is this technological, highly qualified race without heart or feelings, vicious, violent, and engaged in senseless, merciless experiments. But there is more to it than that. They are a dying civilization, desperately trying to save themselves. Dying civilization? How come? I asked, surprised. With all their activity, they seemed very much alive to me and extremely dangerous. Have you ever heard of progeria? On Earth they also call it Hutchinson-Gilford syndrome, after the two scientists who discovered it in 1886. Yes, I have heard a little of it. Progeria victims are children who age, really become old people before they even reach puberty. A parent's nightmare, but very rare, I should say. On Earth, it is indeed very rare. Only one progeria-stricken child is born out of 4 to 8 million births. It is a rare, very frightening genetic disease resulting from spontaneous mutation in the sperm or egg of the parents. Yes, this is what I have always heard, I said. The horror of this disease is that it has no cure. The child is born, starts showing early symptoms, and begins to age right away. The children remain tiny, rarely over 4 feet. Both boys and girls become bald, and all develop a large cranium, a pointy nose, and a receding chin, resulting in an amazing resemblance to each other, almost as if they were clones. And then they die of old age, mostly in their teens, but often before, and there is nothing anyone can do for them. They develop old age diseases such as hardening of the arteries and often die of strokes or coronary disease, while their poor parents have to watch helplessly. The name progeria is very appropriate. It means before old age and expresses it very well. But what is the connection of the progeria children to the Greys? I asked, a frightening suspicion beginning to form in my mind. The civilization of the Greys is millions of years old, and for eons they have been degenerating. A huge percentage of their population has progeria in varying degrees, and because of that they are threatened with extinction. No one knows how many Greys are affected and how many are progeria-free. We only meet those who are, at least for the present, able to carry on their duties with the help of their advanced medical technology. For all we know, there are millions of sick individuals hidden from view on their home planet. This is incredible, I said, shuddering. You must also remember that the Greys do not reproduce sexually. They used to, but not anymore. Also, they don't reproduce like the Anunnaki either. For thousands of years, they have been relying on cloning, and that has damaged their DNA even further, creating more and more cases of progeria. They are dying out. An entire civilization destroyed by progeria. It is almost impossible to believe, I said. If you study the two groups, you will see strong similarities between the Greys and the progeria children. I won't go into all of them, the list can take days, but let's consider the most prominent ones. For one thing, progeria does not produce any form of dementia. Both groups maintain their excellent mental faculties, usually with high IQ, until they die. That is a very important clue. But here are the others for your consideration. Neither group ever grows much beyond 4 feet. Both have fragile, weak bodies with thin arms and legs. All their bones are thin as a general rule. Both groups are bald. Greys have no sexual reproduction. Most have no genitalia at all. Progeria children never reach puberty. Both have large heads by comparison to their bodies. Both have receding chins and pointy noses. Within their groups, they closely resemble each other. The Greys are cloned. The progeria children look as if they could have been cloned. So will the experiments they do help them survive? That is what they hope for. They take the eggs and the sperm from humans and combine them with Grey's DNA. Thus, they create the hybrid children. Those poor children, I pity them so. They are not exactly what you think, Victoria. I pity them too. But you must realize that they are closer to the Greys in their character and behavior than they are to humans. Or what are they like? The first generation hybrids are smaller than human children. They tend to follow the growth pattern of the Grey parent, and by now you know this is a very fragile one. They are even smaller than progeria babies. The retardation of growth begins before birth. When you say first generation, does it mean that they go on mixing the genetic material? Yes, that is exactly what they do. The hybrids may or may not have progeria, but naturally, the more human DNA is mixed into the species, the more chances of eliminating the bad genes exist. So they breed the hybrids with more human DNA, always hoping to eradicate the disease, never quite succeeding. That is why they have to get fresh human specimens all the time. Do you think they have a chance of survival? No, personally, I don't think they have a chance. I think they are doomed. But many Anunnaki disagree with me. At any rate, there is nothing we can do either way. Do you think the authorities on Earth know about all that, like various governments? Why isn't something done about it? Sinhar Inanashamra looked at me silently. Her big black Anunnaki eyes were suddenly full of such sorrow, such deep sadness, that I did not know how to react. Finally she said, "Yes, they do know. I have to tell you the truth, Victoria, even though it breaks my heart to do so. Almost all Earth governments have made a deal with the Greys. They supply them with humans." I jumped on my feet, completely horrified. They do that? They sell humans to the Greys for torture and killing? What do they gain? Can't you guess? Said Sinhar Inanashamra quietly. The Greys give them the technology they crave. They have learned so much from the Greys, and they mostly use it for military purposes. Humans are not kind to each other. Look at wars, torture, genocide, holocausts, all part of human history and still taking place. Unfortunately, this is true, I said. Anyway, there are various places on Earth where such activities can be studied, various military bases, underground mostly, in many countries. One day you will spend some time there, I am sure. Well, I said, trying to recover from the shock. I can't answer for the Earth's governments, but I can try to help. Indeed you can. We are trying in many ways to alleviate the situation, even though, as I once explained, we cannot police the whole universe, or even the entire Earth. Do you think I should go and look at the hybrids as part of my education? Yes, I think the best thing to do will be to take you on a field trip. You must meet these hybrids face to face before you make your decision about the mission. But there is something else I wanted to talk to you about. Such missions will have to be on Earth, you know. There are no hybrid bases anywhere else, certainly not on Nibiru. You will be alone for long periods. We don't go back and forth to Earth very often, which means that you may have to spend years on Earth, except from short vacations. Marduk told me he had committed himself to work with those ape-like things he shape-shifted into and scared me so much after our wedding. That means I am sure that he will be away for extended periods of time as well, doesn't it? Yes, that is how we all live. My husband is on missions all the time. Most of us are. I used to go to distant places also, even though currently my mission is full-time teaching at the academy. But are Marduk and I going to be completely isolated from each other for all these years? No, of course not. Now that you have your conduit, you can talk to each other every single day of the time you spend apart, and every few years you can meet for vacation. That does not sound too bad, I said. I will miss Marduk and all of you very much, but what are a few years? You have given me the hope of living a very long and useful life, and Marduk has begun to teach me about the next phase of eternity, which is not yet entirely clear to me, but very comforting nonetheless. I am trying very hard to absorb it. In that light, I would be willing to make the effort without any regrets. There is only one thing. I am not sure if you will think it is a good idea. I can sense what it is, Victoria. You want a child? Was I that transparent? It was to be expected. Anyone who has had to give a baby for adoption, the way you so heroically did, would want another baby. That is natural. But why should you not? Why do you think it is an idea that will not appeal to me? Because I will have to leave the child on Nibiru when I finally go on missions. Another abandonment. First of all, you did not abandon your son. You insisted on knowing all the conditions. You were assured of the loving family and wonderful future he was going to get. And as for the next child, surely you see that our system here is extremely family-oriented. When you go on your mission, let's say when the child is somewhere between 5 and 10, you will have an entire family ready to take over. Think about it. The baby's father, aunt, uncle, nieces, not to mention her loving great-great-great-grandmother 10 times removed, namely me, will all be there taking care of this child, and you can talk to the child every single day through the conduit, see each other during vacations, and come back long before the child graduated from the academy. I don't think any of your missions will take 71 years, and frankly, I see no abandonment here at all. What will Marduk think? Probably love the idea. He likes children. Not all Annunaki choose to have children, you know. Some never do. Some only have 1 or 2 and then spend thousands of years without further reproduction. It's entirely a matter of free will. Those who want children are of course encouraged to have them whenever they please, since they make excellent parents. Those who do not wish to raise children are never pressured into the task. And remember, Victoria, you can have more children after you come back from your mission if you choose to do so. It is always your choice, and time does not play any part in it. I was quiet for a few minutes. Being raised on Earth eroded so much of the self-confidence and poise all Anunnaki possess. Well, I will have to work on becoming more like them, that is all. This time I will have the baby Anunnaki style, I said, feeling better every minute in the tube, so I can freely study and travel during the time before it is ready for its birth. Incidentally, you can decide in advance if you want a boy or a girl, said Sinhar in Anashamra in the most matter-of-fact way. I'll consult Marduk about that, I said. He may have a preference. I don't care if it is a boy or a girl. I just want a healthy baby. Well, that is a given. You will have a perfect baby every time, and tomorrow come back and I'll take you on the field trip. I think meeting the hybrids will be a very interesting experience. I went home, and as I was waiting for Marduk to come back from the Akashic library, I strolled a little in the garden, breathing in the evening air and the scent of the opening night blooming flowers. I saw Marduk approaching and waved at him. "You got the conduit," he said right away. "I can sense it." "Indeed," I said. "Shall we try to communicate telepathically? Let's see if I am good at it." "Do you know how to start it?" asked Marduk. "I do. I did something in my mind, which regrettably I cannot explain to anyone who had not received the conduit." And the conduit opened, first a little hesitantly, then fully. It was a surprisingly easy and extremely pleasant, effortless way to conduct a conversation. I related to Marduk everything that happened in detail, and a conversation that would have taken about an hour was accomplished in a few minutes. As for the great decision, namely the child, not the mission, Marduk was charmed by the idea. "A daughter," he communicated meditatively, "if you don't mind. I had 2 sons, but I have never had a daughter. It would be a nice experience." "Fine with me," I communicated back. "And when I come back, we might consider having more. I love children." "Certainly, if you wish," Marduk communicated. "I find raising children extremely nice." And so the decision was made, and I felt very, very happy. This is a good time to explain something regarding Anunnaki fatherhood. Earth readers might wonder about how the Anunnaki male feels about the children, since he does not contribute sperm and the fertilization of the eggs, as I have explained in a previous chapter, occurs by the activation of the specialized light. Does the Anunnaki male see himself as a father of his wife's natural children? The answer is a resounding yes. The Anunnaki does not put much weight on trifling physical matters, such as the use of sperm. The Anunnaki couple is an inseparable unit, and whichever way a child comes into their lives, the child is secure of a loving father. I wish the same could be said for all human fathers, whether they do or do not contribute sperm.